Hello there, my name is Georgie Newbery. I'm a flower farmer and florist based between fashionable Bruton and up-and-coming Wincanton here in sunny Somerset in southwest England. And there is such a lot of talk about Halloween. I thought I'd do something different. Just to make a change, I like to think about All Hallows Day. So Halloween is All Hallows Eve, and All Saints Day is the 1st of November. I'm losing my hat. And traditionally, people go to visit the graves of their family or lost family members. Lost, I hate the word lost. People who've died, who they loved, and pay their respects and possibly take a little posy of flowers with them. I'm going to get rid of this Halloween stuff. Frankly, I've had enough of it. So I thought I can put this back to the right level. I thought I would go outside, see what I could forage and make a little posy for putting on a grave. And perhaps you might like to come along with me. Come on then. The wind's to the east and it's coming on to rain. I'm going to have to do this quickly. Rosemary is always associated with remembrance, so that's a good thing to add to a posy in memory of a loved one. Bay historically was planted by the front door of houses to keep the witches away. And so I think that's quite topical, and we'll have some bay for this posy. Look at how the ivy has been flowering and is just turning into berries. I've got lots and lots and lots. So I'll leave lots for the birds and the bees, but I'll have some for this posy. So there's my little basket. I've got roses, a few last dahlias, some lime and hornbeam for the colour. The lime has a pink stem, which I like very much. There, can you see the pink stem? And the hornbeam is the yellow leaves. And then I'm going to add to the mix these crab apples and some Verbena bonariensis, and again a bit of colour from the Viburnum opulus there. And I'm cutting into a basket because at this time of year you really don't need to put everything in water all the time. These flowers are going to be put on a grave, and so they'll get plenty of water just from the atmosphere in the northern hemisphere, of course. There's more excellent colour with this wonderful wild cornus, so I'll have a bit of that. And look at this wonderful field maple. I think we can have some yellow from that, isn't that? That's just fantastic. Look at that colour. Oh yes, like that. And these very last Cafe au lait rose dahlias, they really are the last of the last. They're going to be out of water, but they won't mind it because they'll be laid flat on the ground and they'll just fade open because this is going to be like a little flat-backed sheath for lying on a grave. So there's a sweet little basket of goodies. Let's take them in and make a little flat-backed sheath for putting on a grave. By the way, if you enjoy these clips, then do subscribe to the channel. There's a subscription button somewhere down here. You can press the bell icon and we'll tell you when we've got new clips coming out. And if you find the tips and tricks that I give you in these sessions helpful, then you can always buy me a coffee. There's a link in the blurb to each clip. Come on, let's go and make a flat-backed sheath with this lot. Sheath. Honestly, I'll learn to speak English one day. So I've got all these bits and pieces. And what I really would like to do is make a little flat-backed posy, which is something that could be laid on the grave of somebody who's died, who you loved. And actually, on the Day of the Dead, which is the 1st of November, All Saints Day, I always sing, "For all the saints who from their labours rest," as I walk around on the 1st of November, because it's a great hymn. And anyway, I quite like remembering people who are no longer around. I think it's really, it's a nice opportunity. Anyway, also a nice opportunity is to make a little posy that you could lay on somebody's grave. you know, while you do it, you can think about them and be transported back to happy times or whatever. It's just a very nice sort of calm thing to do once you've finished stabbing yourself trying to carve out the pumpkin for Halloween, which frankly, believe me, I have 11 pumpkins sitting on a table and lots of little girls coming to carve out pumpkins tomorrow, and I'm slightly dreading it. So this is my calm thing that I'm going to do on the way. So if you're going to make a flat-backed sheath, what you want to do is start off with something nice to make the flat back. And I'm going to rearrange my camera so you can see the surface that I'm working on. You won't be able to see my pretty face, but there you go. I'm going to push you back a little bit and hopefully you won't fall over. That's better. Now you can see sort of what I'm doing. This is how lo-fi we are with our YouTube. So I've cut some of what I've cut is ideal for making a flat back. And what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to build my posy from the bottom up. And if you can find something flat like this, you can see it's a nice fan shape of foliage. This is hornbeam, but wherever you are in the world, you might be able to find some nice fan shaped foliage that'll be the back of your posy. And actually I'm going to make it like I make a hand tie, but I'm going to remember all the time that this is the back. And I'm going to, in the same way that I would anything else, here's the lovely aubergine colour of the wild corners. I'm going to go in with some foliage first. And it's just that when the way that it's going to end up being flat backed is that whenever I add anything beautiful, I'm going to make sure the face of it is going this way. This is the back, this is the front. So for example, when it comes to these gorgeous cafe au lait rose dahlias, I will have them facing front, not facing back. Do you see? But I'm not ready for them yet. I'm going to keep giving myself some nice foliage, including some of this lovely ivy. It's all going to fall over. And because this isn't going to, it's not going to go in, carnage. Right, I'm going to stop this, rearrange it and come back to you, because you can't see anything. Right, that's better. I've taken everything out of the basket and laid it flat in front of me, so I can pick things up one at a time. So I'm going to have some of this lovely ivy, and I can make sure that everything is facing front. So, and you can see that because it's the time of year when the foliage is interesting, you could almost just make a foliage posy. There's a challenge for you. 30 stem posy, 30 stem challenge with just foliage, autumn foliage. I bet those of you in America, in North America, you've got such amazing colour at this time of year. You could do something really fantastic. I'd love to see some. Put them on the, if you do, put them on the Instagram and call them, and tag them 30 stem challenge and tag me, Common Farm Flowers, and if I see them, I'll share them on my stories. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to add in some of these gorgeous crab apples. I've been cutting the crab apples for months, since really the end of August, and they're just full of real interest here. And now I feel I'm going to have a little bit of bay, keep the witches away. And I feel ready for a bit of flower action. Now I have not cut much because look, you've got so much interest here. And I'm literally I am going to thread these through a bit so that, there we are, so that they're held up. Look how pretty that is. Still an ordinary hand tie, but I'm giving it some real wow factor colour. And these will slowly, because I'm going to lay them flat, these will slowly open up and dry out. Look, those are the Cafe au lait rose. And then I'm going to give them something to support them, so a bit more ivy. And look at the bubbles on the ivy. By Christmas, they'll be black aubergine colour. They'll be fantastic. And I'll use some of them in my Christmas wreaths. But for the moment, they're still really the shape of the flowers they were quite recently. I'm going to tuck that one in there. And I've got some more dahlias here. Weirdly, these were dahlias I put in this spring and I have not cut them once. They're nice, flat-faced, sort of double collarettes. I can't remember the name, but a really nice dark pink. But weirdly, during the summer, I just never really, they didn't tickle my fancy. But if you have flowers right through to the end of the season, sometimes what happens is you realise that they're actually just right for the end of the season. I'm also putting in rose buds, not fully open roses, they'll flop, but rose buds will just sit there. They won't come open, they won't do anything, but they're a nice detail, and because they're slightly apricot colours, can you see? I think they're a nice contrast with the dahlias. So we'll just pop a few of those in. And I'm putting them all in together, and that's because what I really like to do is make miniature herbaceous borders. And the roses do not grow one stem at a time around the place. They grow in bunches. They grow in a bush. So I'm having a bush in my flat back posy. A bit more of that lovely rosemary. If you pop rosemary into a bouquet at this time of year, it's so lovely because your hands smell of it. And it also means you're cutting into the stems a bit, so they'll bush up a bit in the spring. So when they flower after Christmas, they flower very early in the year. You'll be encouraging bushy flowers. Right, a bit more of the... So I haven't twisted this hand tie at all. It's just all the holding forward. And you can see how when I lay it flat, it has a sort of sit up to it. It would fit very nicely on a grave. A few more dahlias for a bit more colour at the front. A couple more rosebuds. Gather ye roses, that one I've broken, so I'll chuck that away. I have a bad habit of using everything up just because I've cut it, which you do not need to do. Now, this is lime, and I like the zingy green colour at the top. I like the dark red stem, but I also like the fact that the leaves are not perfect. I think if this is going to be to go on a grave, I think one should acknowledge the fact that nothing stays forever. Things move and change. And like a Dutch 17th century picture, which always has, you know, the leaves falling and the peeled lemon, sometimes a bit obvious with an actual skull. But there are, if you look up, there are an enormous amount of iconography in those lovely paintings, which tell you that they're not just pictures of beautiful flowers and twigs and whatever. They are a story, they are an allegory for life and death. A little splash of purple from some Verbena bonariensis. Tuck that in here. Again, I'm not splitting it, I'm just letting it all go in together, because then it will look like a garden. That's what I want it to look like. I don't want it to look like a flower arrangement. For those of you who watch my clips often enough, you'll know I'm not very keen on things that look too much like a flower arrangement. I like things to look as though they're growing in the garden. There go, those last dahlias. And they may look as if you looked at this normally, they're slightly being forced face downwards. But remember, this is going to lay flat. And so actually you will see them. It's worth thinking. And again, in the spirit of Dutch 17th century, there are seed heads in this dahlia because nothing lasts forever. Nothing ever should. There's another song. Right, the last of the crabbies tucked in underneath. You don't have to pull everything off round the bottom here because they're going to lie flat. Again, it doesn't matter what it doesn't have to fit in a vase. It's not going to go in water. Where I've got crab apples sticking out the bottom and they will be laid flat on a grave, the chances are a little mouse will come along and nibble at night. And again, it's quite nice to have something that's 100% biodegradable. And so while you are paying respects to people you love and thinking about people you love who are no longer with us, you're also feeding, putting something down, which, you know, this posy may sit on the grave all winter, and you might find that it fills up with little beetles and other invertebrates who spend the winter in it. And that way you're saving your environment as well, which is nice and topical for COP26 next week. There we are. I've used all my bits up. And now I'm going to tie it up with some raffia, which I have here. Hook it around my little finger. Turn it upside down. I'm dropping apples, but it doesn't matter. And just tie it up. I've smashed one of those pieces, but it doesn't matter because I will tuck that in the front. And I'm tying off the raffia, and I'm going to cut the stems off just so it's tidy. Not because I'm going to put them in a vase at all, but just so that they don't take too much attention away from the actual finished piece. And there, tuck that last piece of rosemary in the old wear. And there is my flat sheath. And I'm going to lay her down and turn off the camera and film her so you can see what she really looks like. But I do think that's a really lovely thing to take and put on a grave in memory of somebody who's no longer with us. Right, I'm going to film it so you can see what it looks like. So here it is finished. And actually I found that this patch was a little bit naked. So I've tucked in some more of those All Hallows dahlias, which I love so much. And it is a really, really simple, flat back sheath with lots and lots of interest. And I think, you know, just for you, if you had somebody who you'd like to remember this All Saints Day, someone who had an effect on you, who you loved, make a posy. And if you're not too far away from where they're buried, make a posy and go and put it on their grave. I think it's a lovely thing to do. There you are. So it makes a change from Halloween, I think. So there you go. That's a simple activity. And if you went and cut yourself 30 stems, then you could make something like this and pop it on the grave of someone you loved in their memory for this All Saints Day, 1st of November. And while you do it, I challenge you to sing "For All the Saints Who From Their Labours Rest." It's a great tune. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this session. Makes a change from all the gloom and plastic of that Halloween is. And now I must get on with sorting out those endless pumpkins. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy these clips, please do subscribe. There's a subscribe button somewhere. You can press the bell icon and we'll tell you when we've got new clips coming out. And if you have found the tips and tricks I offer while I make these little sessions available, then please do buy me a copy. There is a link in the blurb for each of the clips as I make them. You can click on the link, and obviously you're not buying me a real copy, but you are making a small contribution to the making of these clips, which certainly encourages me to make more. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.